It's Javad. I'm back with another installment of the CSS P215 kit that I've been working on. This is the documentation that CSS provides, so it's actually quite thorough. So dimensions, if you want to build your own enclosure, if you choose to opt out of their flat pack, and a crossover schematic, which is what I'm going to be doing for this installment. Now, they give you a nice crossover schematic, and it wouldn't be hard to build a crossover from this. But with the supplied components and the supplied printed crossover board that we reviewed in the first installment, I hate to say there's not a lot of thinking going on when you have to assemble this. All the thinking's already been done by Dan and Carrie over at CSS. So thanks to the magic of television, I've got one that's already finished. And you can see crossovers components are attached with zip ties, and then all the connections are on the back here, and I've used 2 jumper wires, but I was able to make most of the connections direct. So I'll go over some of the details. So CSS provides these wires. These wires are great. They have this sleeve on it. You don't really need that. You can always just twist these up and use them that way. So I have some wire I like to use that I got from our buddy Jason Terpesta from the group, and I use this for tweeters. It's like a, I don't know, 20 or 22 gauge solid core wire, and this is like a 16 gauge, the really nice silicone sleeve. So I got a bunch of this stuff. I bought a bunch of rolls from him, so I'm just going to use this. And then I'm using this solid hookup wire. CSS supplies this thin hookup wire, which works great too. They supply a bunch of zip ties to hold down the components. And so you need to supply some solder. And you know, you want a little cutter and a soldering iron. So I think that's about it. We can, you know, I'm gonna just go for it and assemble one right in front of you guys. You know, I'm all about the one take, so if I screw some stuff up, you're just gonna have to see it, and I'll have to deal with that. So, all right. So now we got the crotch cam going here. So circuit board components. So we'll start with this big, the biggest 2 millihenry inductor. And again, couldn't be easier. See that there's 2 holes for the 2 wires. And then there's these nice slots that the inductor sits in. So when I was first doing this, I thought, you know, I might put a dab of hot glue or some kind of, you know, polyurethane glue down. And honestly, I don't think it's needed. I played with it. Once these are down and zip tied, they're solid. And the reason is that CSS made everything fit so tight in this board that once you apply a downward force, this thing has nowhere to go. So I'm feeling pretty good about that, and that's how I'm gonna rock it. So you can see the slots there. And so we're going to insert one here. Out the other side. And one thing I noticed, I think CSS is a little more frugal or efficient than I am, and they're maybe counting on you using one zip tie for multiple components. You certainly do here because you don't have any other choice. So I've got a trillion zip ties here, so I pulled out some more, but I may have needed to be a little more conservative. You can just trim that off. So there's that one. Now we've got these two 12 microfarad capacitors. Just want to bend the leads down. Just careful not to bend them around too much. I like to do these so the text is facing up. And again, you just stick it in the hole and boom. And it fits so nice and tight. I really don't think you need any glue or anything like that. All right, stick this one in. There we go. So let's get a zip tie out. Just want to make sure everything's seated before you snug the zip tie down. Just crank that down like that. All right, we got, let's do this 1 millihenry inductor here. So you can see there's the leads are on opposite ends and opposite sides of the inductor, and so that correlates nicely with the holes here. So I'll just slide in. And I just seat that down in that little slot there. Grab another zip tie. That goes up through there. And there we got a couple resistors. Okay. And make sure you put the right ones in the right spot. This is a 1 ohm, which goes here. Again, it really doesn't matter which way it goes. It's just a resistor. It resists in the same in either direction. The other resistor. Okay. Crank that one down, good. All right, and see how fast this goes. The final 6.2 microfarad capacitor. Now this capacitor isn't made from ground up unicorn testicles or anything, just a good all around polyester capacitor. And cinch that down. We're done with this phase of the crossover. Remember, you gotta do 2 of these, but it's so easy. Now, here's the really slick part. You see these letters over here? So it's really as easy as just connecting all the letters together. I mean, literally, you know, a 5-year-old could do it. And that's kind of the beauty of the kit. So now there's only one little additional trick, is these holes are for the input wires. Okay, and those are clearly labeled here. So I'm going to take a second and I'll just do these one at a time because they can get unruly. So plus and minus. Okay. All right, so let's see. There's a G here. I think G stands for ground, which makes sense. So just gonna bring these together and give them a little twist, okay? Just like that. And we're gonna solder all this crap together. So there is another G. Let's see. Yep. We got several G's, so let's do an F here real quick. Okay. The nice thing is when you identify that there's only two F's, then that's easy, right? It gets to be a little bit more of a pain when you have to do the jumper wires, but it's still not too bad considering. All right, so let's do the input wire. So gray is minus, so I stick that in. This wire's getting a little hung up. There we go. And the plus, or the white, sorry if this view isn't as good as it could be, but you get the idea. All right, and so we have a D and a D. Twist those together. And so there's two A's here. And there's another A over here. So we're going to use one of the jumper wires. You twist these together, you want to kind of get them down near the board as much as possible so they're not sticking up too high. If you know what I mean. And then, if you need to, you can use some pliers. All right, so once these start coming together, here, let's see. I'm just gonna start soldering some of these so that they don't come apart, especially the ones that are done. Make sure you get, I don't know, if you don't know how to solder, then you're going to want to learn how to do that. But assuming you have that down, super straightforward. Make sure the solder melts into the connection and doesn't just sit like a blob on top of it. That would be bad. Just do a couple of these other ones while I'm here. All right, let's see. Looks like we got a B and a B here. We'll do that. You can make these solder joints as pretty or as functional as you'd like. I'm going more for functional here because it doesn't really matter. As long as there's a good electrical connection, I'm going to be happy here. So let's see. And there's a couple here. You can sort of daisy chain the connections, which I recommend doing. Some of these I'll just get the wires up next to each other and fill the whole connection in with a nice solder connection. All right. As you kind of get in there, you can start trimming some of the excess pieces off that aren't doing anything. Okay. Connect some C's together there. All right, what else? Okay, we got a bunch of G's to do here. All right, let's put in the woofer wires. Plus, minus. I gotta say, if you're still watching this, you're either really bored or you have incredible taste in internet viewing media. I'm gonna assume it's the second. All right, so, there's another B connection we have to make here. No biggie. Just wrap that in there with the rest of it and solder it in. Good. So G, there's G is the ground, so you're just connecting all these grounds together. And that's honestly the hardest part of all this. And it's not that hard. So, let's see. Let's stick a jumper wire in here. All right, lock that down. Now, so there's a G here, 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 and here, and here. So just need to connect all those together. So let's see, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna twist these jumper wires together. Then I'm gonna twist the speaker wire onto that. Okay. I'm just gonna blast this with a bunch of solder. Good. All right. Then we just need a little jumper here. Connect all that. And I think we're done. All right. Fun to find all these snippets later on the shop. All right. Do a quick review here. Okay. And once you get some of this stuff done, you can just pull everything tight. So there you go. And they kind of thought of everything. So there's these standoffs. So this, you know, can sit flat despite you having all these wires sticking out. You can use pliers to kind of squish things down if you need to. So there you go, that's pretty much it. Now I just need to put the crimp terminals on these and wire them into the box. So I wanted to show you. So here's where I'm at with the boxes. And what you see here is some gray primer, sandable primer that I've sanded it because it's sandable. And so what I'm gonna do, trying some new stuff here. I'm gonna use a gloss black vinyl. I think it's from Vivid. Parts Express carries it, also available on Amazon. I'm gonna do the whole cabinet in that, which will be really easy to work with because you just like peel and stick it. And then I have some of this mahogany veneer donated by Brian Zhang, one of the moderators on the project pad. And I'm gonna do that on the top, and I think I'll do that in an oiled finish. So there'll be another installment of that. I got some of this black Formica, which is really cool. And I played a little bit with it. There's a failed experiment in the trash can where I tried to heat it around these 1/2-inch radiuses. Here. You can see, bent a little bit, but it was not good, and I ended up ripping it off in a fit of rage. Now, the rest of it's in there. So, I'd say if you want to bend black or any kind of Formica, maybe 2-inch radius, 1.5 at the minimum. Better if it's 3 or more. If it's, I think if it's 3 or more, you won't even have to heat it. But if you heat it, you could probably get down to about 1 to 1.5. But it's kind of a crapshoot if it'll actually work. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Oh, 22 minutes of amazing, exciting crossover work. But you can see how quick it is. It's literally about 15 minutes each, and you're good to go. All right. Thanks, guys.